Hello and welcome to this digital photo video tutorial. I'm Phil Hall and I'll be showing you how to carry out a split raw conversion on your landscape images in Photoshop CS4. Well, I've already shown you how to do this with earlier versions of Photoshop and Elements. CS4 features the adjustment brush. So rather than carrying out two separate conversions, then merging them together, we can make all our changes in a single conversion. So to see how it's done, open up castlerig.dng and I'll show you how. So once you've opened up your start image, you'll be greeted with Photoshop's Camera Raw Converter interface, and this is where we're going to make all of our changes to the shot. As we did with our other conversion in the other video tutorial, I'm just going to concentrate on sorting out the foreground adjustment first and then worry about the sky later, and I'm going to show you how that's all done in this single conversion. First off though, let's just take a look at this foreground. So I'm going to go over to my basic tab. I'm going to start off by warming up the shots. So with my temperature slider, I'm just going to increase that to around about 6600. If I go any further, it's gone a bit over the top, so I'm just going to drag it back down to 6600 there. The tint is at -5. Go the other way. I think it's probably alright as it was around about -5 there. So I'm now going to move down and take a look at the exposure. I'm just going to increase that. If I go too far, that's probably bleached out the foreground as well, so I'm going to take it back down to around about plus 0.65, and you can see that's just lightened that foreground up nicely, but also bleached out the sky. But that's going to be brought back in a moment. So if I just click off preview, that's what we started out with, and that's what we've got now. Okay, I'm going to move down to the recovery slider. Now I'd use this if I'd got blown highlights. I could just recover some of that information. So if I hit O on my keyboard, this will display the highlight clipping warning, and use the recovery slider, you can see that red blotch disappears and we've brought back detail. But that's only in the sky, so I'm not concerned about that lost detail. I'll be able to bring that back in a moment. So I'm going to leave the recovery slider on 0 and just going to hide that highlight clipping warning by hitting O on my keyboard again. Okay, I'm going to move down to fill light. If I hit U on my keyboard, that brings up the shadow clipping warning. There'll be little blue spotches, but there's nothing there, so I don't need to use the fill light slider just to bring back detail in the shadows. So I'm just going to hit U again on my keyboard just to get rid of that. I'm going to leave blacks, brightness and contrast alone, and I'm going to move down to my clarity, vibrance and saturation sliders. Okay, as before with the other conversion I did in the other video, I'm just going to boost the clarity up to plus 40, and that's just boosted the depth of the image. Vibrance, which is just boosting the saturation in the least saturated colours, again is going to go up to plus 40, or saturation is going to go up to plus 20. So if I click back, you can see we've really sorted that foreground out. If I was using an earlier version of Photoshop, I'd have to hit Open Image to load that into Photoshop before opening up the start image again to make a second conversion for the sky. But as I'm using CS4, I'm just going to go along to the top here and select the adjustment brush. It's just hidden away along the top there. Click on it and we get a new set of sliders available to us. So with these sliders, I'm going to be able to bring back detail in the sky by using the exposure primarily, but I can apply a couple of other variables just to really boost the sky. So I'm just going to reset these, and I'm going to start off with an exposure of -0.50. I might just increase that a bit, so I can just bring my slider along there, probably about -1. Got a brush size of around about 20 with a reasonably small feather, and all I'm going to do is just brush into the sky, and you can see we bring back that detail in the sky. That's looking really good. We're not burning anything in, we're just adjusting the exposure to this specific area of the image. So I'll probably just run along there like that. Once you've released that, you'll get this little icon pop up there. If I run over that, that just shows where our adjustment's been made. So as you can see, we've just darkened down the sky, and if I want that even darker, I just go over to the exposure slider, just darken that down even more. So I can probably go down to about there. That's looking good. If you make a mistake and you want to go back, you can just use the eraser tool, and then you can just brush in sort of around there. So I'm just going to add a bit more, so I can use that icon there. Probably just going to really take my brush down, just add around there. and that's coming on nicely. I can probably think about just having to play around with these other sliders, and these sliders are all going to affect this conversion here until I hit new, when we can start off another separate adjustment. But for now, I'm just going to increase the clarity a little bit and saturation. If I click back off preview, you can see that single adjustment has turned that image around. But we're not only restricted to one adjustment, we can make a series of adjustments on the image. So if I hit new, then think about if I just want to boost the contrast even further in this foreground, I'm just going to increase my brush size, probably a bit too much, around about there. I think I'm going to set the exposure probably down. I'm just going to boost the saturation and clarity of it. Maybe the contrast. I'll just run it in there. Probably just increase that a bit. If I just increase that, the clarity as well, the contrast. If I click back, you'll see that's had a subtle change in the foreground there. If you want to go back and make another adjustment to the sky, all you have to do to make sure that adjustment's active is click on that. You've got the black dot in there, and that's your active adjustment area. But I think that's pretty much done. So as you can see, we've managed to make a series of conversions on a single image, just using the raw converter once. We don't need to open up that second file. So all I'm going to do is just crop that as I did earlier in the other conversion. So I'm just holding down the shift key to maintain the aspect ratio. I'm just going to rotate it around a bit. There we go. Hit return. And then all I'm going to do is hit open image. So once that's launched into Photoshop, there's very little else to do. We don't have to use the add layer mask. All we can do is just at the bottom of our layers palette, go to the create new filler adjustment layer icon, select levels, and then all I'm going to do is just punch up the levels a bit. Probably just drag it in a bit there. And once I've done that, just close that. And it's as easy as that. Using the adjustment brush is a great way to work. It offers bags of flexibility, while you can adjust and refine as many areas of the image as you like. If you've got CS4, this is the best way to carry out a split raw conversion and get the best from your files. Hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!